Welcome back, everyone, to Toulas Tips for Caregivers. If you've just joined me, my two friends, my two guests today are Joyce Cruz and John Hamill. And they reminded me during the commercial break that we need to throw a shout out and say Happy Mother's Day to everyone. This is a special time, and this is the time we need to honor and recognize our moms for all that they do for us.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Happy Mother's Day, moms. Thank you for all you do.
And go ahead,
Happy
Joyce.
Mother's Day, Mom. I put the radio up for you to listen. I hope you're listening.
I hope you're listening too, Joyce's mom. And John, my heart will be with you tomorrow, as I know this is the first Mother's Day you'll celebrate without your mother, and so it's going to be a difficult day.
It is one of those moments you experience the anniversaries of different dates, and you lose somebody, and
Yeah.
it is different. And a shout out to my friend Nancy, who works with us. She lost her mom last week, and we just surround her and just lift her up because
love and compassion.
absolutely.
Lord be with her. Joyce, let's start talking a little bit about some of the decisions that you as a caregiver have had to make, both in caring for your mom, your dad, and your husband. You've been in a place to make some really tough decisions at different times, and I know that's something you wanted to talk about a little bit today, the importance of planning ahead.
Well, as an only child, I seemed to be the one that was designated this decision maker. These are real important decisions that you're making for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to say, I want this and I want that, but it's another thing when it's your parents and your husband who you're making these decisions for. So without the Lord's help, I probably would be under the bed right now instead of standing up, being here. But the decisions really that they begin when you begin to recognize that the person you're taking care of can't make those decisions anymore. As long as they are able to, you want them to be able to, and encourage them in that, and maybe help them along, to make the right decision. But it finally just comes down to just doing it.
Right.
So
That's hard to do, especially with your parents, who it's hard to take charge of them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, my husband was.
He was
always,
kind of in charge, huh?
Yeah. So
Okay.
anyway, so you begin with the simple decisions of, where are you going to stay right now? How am I going to help you? Do I need extra help? How can I obtain that help? And don't hesitate if you're able to do that, to get extra help. This
Right.
is not your total burden to bear. And I think so many wives particularly, and children, feel like, I've got to do this for my loved one, and I want to preserve all of our assets, and I just can't put this off on anybody else. Well, if you're going to survive, you have to.
That's exactly right.
So I've been able, resource-wise and just because I knew I had to, do that. The decisions of, when the end-of-life decisions, how are we going to handle this? Do we go to hospice? Do we keep them at home? Do they stay in the nursing home? These are all fairly large decisions because it's a big change for their lives,
Right.
and it'll be a big change for your life. That doesn't, if they go into a nursing home, that doesn't mean you cease to be a caregiver. You
Not
are
at all. You're
still-
probably doubling up on some of your efforts.
It's a different step in the phase.
Right.
Right.
And I think what Joyce is referring to, and too, I'm a simple minded, so I'm help this with our caregiver
I like
audience,
simplicity.
is that what she mentioned at first was living in the moment.
Right.
Because if you become a caregiver all of a sudden, if mom or dad just fell, your life changes pretty quickly
Right.
to become a
Yeah.
caregiver. If it's
Well
something ongoing, with my mom with her Alzheimer's, it was a 12-year journey.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad was in charge. Funny thing, my mom was in charge of all the finances, and she really called the shots in our life. But when mom became unable to make the decisions, my dad, who was the passive decision maker, had to become the decision maker. And he wasn't prepared. So my little sister was the caregiver. And I think, so living in the moment, making those decisions, what you call the simple decisions right now, how do I survive? And the key thing that you mentioned to our audience is to reach out and ask. Simply
Absolutely.
ask. We are here for you. That's what you do. You have to dial in and ask us, or you have to turn to a friend and call them and ask them. But that's where you find yourself in that moment. And then when you get yourself settled for that moment, where you can survive today, tomorrow, and next week, and you're starting to settle into what you have to do now, then the planning ahead things, that's farther in the future.
You have to take care of the immediate need, obviously.
Right. So it's a big decision, and just all those things are wrapped up, but please ask. Remember, we're here to help. There's more resources today than there was 10 years ago.
That's the truth, and you know, budgets for all kinds of things are being cut across the board, but it seems for right now, some of the senior funding budgets are going to stay intact. Medicare does cover quite a bit in the way of home care, and a lot of people don't even understand that. There are a lot of things available through some funding for the Older Americans Act.
Yes.
It's home and community-based services that is administered through Aging True. Things like Meals on Wheels and chore service and a companion and an aide to come in and help you. And for most of the time, there's no cost for those services. And people don't realize that. There are things out there that can help you. So all you have to do is ask. And if you didn't hear the phone number at the top of the show, it is area code 904-854-1320. And both John and I have some gift certificates to give away for the first 3 callers.
We do. And don't forget to check into Toulas' website. She puts a lot of work into that thing. You can go there as a resource and be connected that way as well. And the website is?
ToulasTipsForCaregivers.com. And Toulas, Toulas, tipsforcaregivers.com. Plus I have a Facebook page that we update daily with different quotes, different topics on caregiving. So go to your Facebook and in the search box there, put in Toulas Tips for Caregivers. Like me on Facebook, please. I like to be liked.
It's hard not to do that.
I like to be liked, don't we all? So like me on Facebook and then make a comment about the show. We really are trying to reach out and help you, the caregiver. So Joyce, what did you do to reach out and help? I know at one time, like I said, you had your father and your husband in the home at the same time. That's when I first met you, and I thought, oh my gosh, this little 5 foot 90 pound lady's caring for this big man and her dad.
Oh,
what did you do to get help?
Well, one of the first simple things I did was to have somebody come in at night to take care of my husband for 2 nights a week, to give me that amount of break that
Sleep.
Sleep.
We have to have our sanity to be able to do what we do.
And so that was kind of the beginning of a progressive more and more caregiving as he got progressively less able to do things. And, you know, my friends I've been in a prayer group, 2 prayer groups actually, for probably 30, 40 years. And
wow.
So those women have just been so supportive and comforting, and you know, and when I go ready to pull my hair out, they would just really let me talk it out and pray about it. And so, you know, it's been a journey. It's been a challenge. But the funny thing is, I wrote my senior med-surg paper in nursing school on the care of the dying and their families. I don't know if the Lord was preparing me way back then for this responsibility, but I'm very thankful that I have had at least some background in what to do. And I have found community hospice very, very helpful in their what happens. Actually, you need to know these things. How do this process progress? If it is a process, I mean, everybody goes through this in a different way.
Yeah, everybody's different.
Different.
But there are some similarities in the dying process too. There are some similarities that happen to you physically as you're in the dying process, but as you said, every different person with different diseases definitely goes through different things. And I will tell you, as most of you know, I do work full-time for community hospice, and I do believe community hospice is a true gem. in our community that so many people really don't even know about yet.
It's true, very true. In fact, may I make a bold statement right there?
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen in the audience, it's time that we all really think about this for a moment. We know that we're going to end up one day where we're going to go. We're going to join our family and friends wherever they've gone before us. And so if we address that, of what we want done for this body, we didn't have anything to say about how we came into this world, but we can say something about how we go out.
That's right.
If you start there and make your simple decisions and work your way back, hospice are angels on earth. They're there to help you and support you and your family and make things as comfortable as possible, at home if possible. And then whatever is in front of you, the rest of your life is to live. Those two
That's
things
right.
are there for you and your foundation. So we're going to come back and
Let's talk about
we'll
that.
start with living the life part when we come back. How
We're
about
going to
that?
do that. We're going to talk about the fact that hospice care is really about living life to
It
its
is.
fullest for whatever time you have left.
Exactly.
Whatever time you have left. So I appreciate you bringing that up. You're listening to Toulas Tips for Caregivers, Talk Radio 600 WBOB. We'll be right back.